Eggs. Everyone's crazy about them, and they've gotten so expensive these days. You know, when you go to the supermarket, you see a bunch of different varieties of eggs. Recently I got this here. It says Happy Eggs. You can open up the box and it has a helpful guide showing you basically the more money you pay, the happier the chickens. Pay a little bit less money. Over here, your chickens just are out of cages and they don't get hormones. And if you pay a lot of money, they get to run around free and they get organic feed. They called caipira chickens. Here's another one. It says that it's certified humane. What does that really mean? Just because they're outside of cages doesn't mean that they're not inside of a large house and they actually have access to nature. Also, if they say that they have access to nature, for how long? So my challenge was, could I create true caipira chickens, the freest of chickens? So as you know, we built this beautiful garden right near our house. And we also built this agroforest. And we make the perfect habitat for our chickens that could run around freely. They could also aerate the ground with their pecking and clawing, and their poop would actually improve the soil quality and the food that we grow. So we built this fence about 40 by 50 meters in perimeter, and we actually buried it about 40 centimeters below the ground so nothing would be able to crawl underneath. We also built this barbed wire fence to prevent other critters from getting at our other garden. Here's a closer look at the actual fence. And no, Pepper, you can't come in and scare the chickens. With the enclosure built, we got ourselves 5 female chickens and this rooster, very confused about where they are. In the enclosure, they could sleep on this kind of staircase thing we built. That's where they like to roost. And these little cubbies where they could lay their egg. This hen did not really get the memo. So now the chickens were very happy, running around, enjoying the nature. Eating worms and things. These were really free chickens, and you could see it. They were happy as can be. Our neighbors weren't, though. Rooster made a lot of noise at 5 in the morning. And we started getting these eggs, all different colors and shapes of eggs. Isn't that neat? But after a while, the chickens realized that I was stealing their eggs. So they went out into the grass and started actually hiding them and trying to lay their eggs in the tall grass, thinking that I wouldn't find it. And in fact, I was able to find some of those eggs and also steal those successfully, which is nice. Look at these nice free-range eggs. But they kept laying more and more and more. Until, of course, one time, they managed to lay some chicks. Little, beautiful chicks. Super cute, super adorable, hiding around in the tall grass. And this was really nice. I thought they were so cute. Here the hen is walking around explaining what it is like to be a completely free chicken. And some of these chicks grew up, and you can clearly see the numbers of our chickens grew, until they didn't. All of a sudden we started losing chicks. They just started disappearing. And we had no idea what it was, so we set up some hidden cameras. First culprit was this coyote, but then we didn't really see any holes or anywhere in the fence that it could have gotten in. There was this little armadillo. It doesn't eat chicken. Neither does this very chubby paca. Now what's this coming out of the woodwork? What could it be? Oh, these are wild hogs. They're probably the ones that were eating all my sweet potatoes, digging up my garden, and eating all my corn. And this? Oh, this is an ocelot. But it wouldn't be able to jump the fence. It's too small. Then I checked my home security cameras, and I saw this guy. Look at him, walking around like he owns the place. This is a carcara. It's kind of a vulture eagle-like bird. You see it everywhere in Mexico. Apparently, it's some sort of a spiritual animal that leads you to, you know, the after death or whatever you call it. But really, it was our chicken killer. This was the culprit. Look at it, observing the chickens, waiting to pounce, and then taking off and murdering cute little chicks. Initially, I thought of shooting this carcara, but the environmentalist in me said that wasn't a good idea. So instead, we took these chicks and we actually put them in the chicken coop and kept them hidden until they got much bigger. And that way, our numbers of chickens grew from 6 to 10 to 15 until I came in one morning and my chickens were gone. Giant hole in the fence, someone ripped through the metal, and absolutely no sign of chickens, just feathers and blood. And to tell you the truth, I was actually quite upset. Even though I had no problem eating chickens, other chickens that is, and sort of stealing the eggs of my own chickens, somehow this really pissed me off. And we had no idea who it was. We really suspected that this was some kind of a person, someone who had invaded our chicken coop and stolen these chickens. Because I just couldn't understand what animal would be big enough and strong enough to actually be able to break through the fence, until I looked at the security footage. And here you see, about a day before, this animal breaking into our property. What is it? Is it a fox? No, this is actually a Maine wolf, or lobo guará. And this guy is actually native to another part of Brazil, the Cerrado, which is sort of the grasslands, and somehow made its way over to where we live in the mountains. Initially, I doubted that this wolf did it until I began to see this, our poor chickens, in its mouth. The wolf had broken in, and it had actually killed all 14 or 15 of our chickens, hid them, and then was carrying them up to some other location one by one. But why? I spoke to a biologist friend of mine who studies these wolves, and the first thing is, this wasn't a he, it was a she. And around this time, she was having puppies. Puppies that look like this. That made me feel a little bit less worse, and I was more okay with it killing my chickens. Regardless, we fortified our chicken coop with all this wood. Now it was wolf-proof. And we went and we bought some chickens from randomly an 8-year-old kid who raises them for a living. Here they are in the back of our car in plastic bags. Yes, that's how it's done. And they're totally fine and totally healthy. Here they are in the chicken coop. One of them is on top of the food. I didn't really understand how the trough works. But they're all protected. They have their little pool of water they can run around and enjoy themselves with. And clearly, they have their much needed freedom. Here, living out their best lives among the trees, eating insects, pooping everywhere. Life of a chicken. And is the wolf still around? Yes. Now, for some reason, walking around our house. But she can't get to our chickens, which is great. And here they are in their chicken fortress, getting ready to go to sleep, protected from the big bad wolf, and also from the vampire bats, which I forgot to mention, we're also killing them. And if that all fails, well, they'll be protected under the watchful gaze of Caju. Look how wild he looks. In the end, I learned that chickens are a lot like people. We really want our freedom, but in the end, a little bit too much freedom can be a bad thing.